Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us. President Cyril Ramaphosa will deliver his virtual State of the Nation address tonight at 7. This evening's address will be rather subdued, with all the pomp and ceremony cut due to the coronavirus pandemic. Only 50 people will be present in the National Assembly when President Cyril Ramaphosa delivers his speech. To talk to us about expectations on the economic growth, the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, the fight against corruption and other expectations, we're now joined by Professor Amanda Gouws from the University of Stellenbosch. Prof, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for being with us here on SABC News this afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I mean, so many different sectors have been so badly and so hard hit by the coronavirus pandemic. So, it's always very difficult for one to say where they think that, the president should really be sort of focusing, really. What kind of message do you think that South Africans are waiting to hear from the president as he delivers his State of the Nation address this evening?
Well, I think the nation is in a state of a trust deficit in terms of the government. They feel that they've been let down in many cases through the economy, but also through the pandemic. And they would want to hear, I think, rather detailed information from the president on how we are going to monitor the rollout of the vaccines. We've seen a serious corruption with the PPE, so we don't want to return to a situation where there's corruption around the vaccines, or that there is that people are not prioritized. I think there needs to be a priority in terms of who gets vaccinated, the frontline workers, but then after them, who else gets vaccinated. People want more certainty around that. And then I think when we talk about job creation, we've heard many SONAs, the promises of job creation, but I think people want detail. And the reason why they want detail is because during the pandemic, so many people have lost their jobs, and there is, in different sectors, there is a great need for people to know what they can expect. And also in the different stages of lockdown, people don't know when they can return to work. So we need, I think people want to hear greater detail. For example, what is going to happen in the tourist industry? What is the president going to do in terms of making it easier for people to travel? And how are we going to boost the tourist industry? That's a big sector in the economy.
Yeah.
The same with the entertainment industries and so on. And also the liquor industry. I think there needs to be a differentiated approach to how we deal with the issue of alcohol. There are the industry, for example, like the wine industry. They contribute a great deal to the economy, but right now, when we're in a situation where it's no alcohol is sold, the wine industry really suffers, and the issues around the exportation of wine and so on. So I think a more nuanced approach is needed. And I also would like to say that I think we need to hear also more detail around how the issue of gender-based violence is going to be treated. We know the president has put money towards gender-based violence. Last week, there was a new fund established with working together with the corporate sector. How is the rollout of that money going to be monitored? And is it going to go for the right causes? So there needs to be detailed on how the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence will be implemented.
Yeah.
So I think that we need, what the citizens want is more detail.
Yeah. When we started our conversation, the first thing you spoke about was the issue of the trust deficit. And I actually just want to go back to that and talk more on this. I mean, you talk about corruption, which has been such a big issue, particularly as we've been dealing with COVID-19 last year, as we saw some corruption related to PPEs and so forth. And I wonder, as the president speaks today, and just on the back of that, Prof, I just want to say, we've been having a lot of commentary from ordinary citizens of South Africa. We've had our reporters in the streets kind of asking people what they expect, what they wish for, so forth. And it's actually been very sad to hear a lot of people saying, well, you know what, I don't expect anything. It's always the same. It's just talk and so forth. And I wonder if, as a government, have they gone too far in terms of, can they get back the trust of the citizens so that we don't hear people saying, oh, you know what, there's nothing to expect. It's all just the same. Or is there a chance to kind of gain that trust back, particularly when it was so hard hit by the issue of the PPE corruption that we saw last year?
Yes, and I think that this is part of the SONA, that the president is going to have to tell us what is he going to do about corruption. Not the vague promises of eradicating corruption, but how is that going to be done? And for starters, the whole issue around people who have been accused of corruption stepping aside. It seems to me that that's very hard for the ANC to implement, and that the president really wants to keep the ANC unified, but maybe that is not the way to go. So there is really a trust deficit, and I think we're going to see a consequence of that in the local government election next year, if we are going to have an election, because my prediction is that the turnout will be lower than usual, and it's not been very high in the past anyway.
Yeah. Prof, you spoke about job creation. Last year at the State of the Nation address, it seemed as though there would be jobs created, and I'm pretty sure that was one of the main promises. And I wonder if, the president can kind of say, well, we were faced with COVID-19, so obviously that hampered the issue of job creation. And I'm glad you talk about people wanting detail, because to say we will create 500,000 jobs doesn't really mean much when every year we continue to hear people saying that we're jobless, we don't have jobs. So where exactly are these jobs going? So when it comes to job creation and the specifics and the detail that you talk about, what exactly are we expecting the president to then say to this issue?
Well, I think there's very often money put toward entrepreneurial jobs, right? So let's support the entrepreneurs. Of course, they can generate money. But if we look at where we really need people to be also more secure in jobs, is the type of work that women do. Yeah. So in the social welfare sector, in the health sector, in the education sector, we need to look at where we can create jobs that will also benefit women. And in that sense, it's not only good enough to say we're going to increase the child support grant or this grant or that grant. We're talking here about creating work where people can actually make a living. And I feel strongly that we shouldn't only focus on entrepreneurial jobs or infrastructure jobs, but also in the what's called the soft sectors, where women find themselves.
All right, Prof, thank you so very much for giving us your time and for your input on this show. Much appreciated.
You're welcome.
All right, that's Professor Amanda Gouws from the University of Stellenbosch, as we preview the State of the Nation address and continue to hear expectations of South Africans this afternoon.